should put this in practice for self-realization.
Yes. So how do we put this practice in knowledge? Very important.
Yeah.
So we need to do self-realization. We've done everything else. Only this is remaining, therefore we are
Yeah. You also mentioned that the one of the symptom is of the soul is the consciousness, right? Our own consciousness. That's a symptom of the soul by itself.
Correct. You guys are all ready to start preaching.
No, I found this very interesting, to be very frank, because so many misconceptions get cleared. I read it twice, but I found this very interesting, this chapter.
Yes. Yes. So this is the second chapter, is almost like the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. Then Krishna then starts narrating in detail section by section. So here, essentially, like we studied in the first chapter, Krishna is clarifying almost all the doubts of Arjuna. And then he goes from the third chapter into detail of, still clarifying further. Otherwise, he answered or counteracted all the 5 reasons Arjuna gave in the first chapter to not fight. And we'll see some bit of it now. So let's start with today's. So verse number 2.26. Ata chainam nityajatam.
Achanam nityajatam.
Ata chainam nityajatam.
Achanam nityajatam.
Nityam va manyasya
Nityam va manyase partam.
Nityam va manyase mritam.
Nityam va
Nityam va manyase mritam.
Mahabaho.
Tadhapi tvam mahabaho.
Tathapi tvam mahabaho.
Atitam mahabaho.
Nainam sochitam arhasi.
Nitam sochi tumarhasi.
Nainam sochitam arhasi.
Nainam shochitum arhasi.
Anyone would like to read the translation?
I'll read. If, however, you think that the soul, for the symptoms of life, will always be born and die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty arm.
Yes. So Krishna is saying, so in the previous verses, Krishna, up till the Sloka 25, explained the eternality of the soul, explained what is soul, and different properties of the soul, how it cannot be killed, like you all just described. It cannot be burned by fire, moistened by water, and all the weapons Arjuna had. Krishna indicated that you have fire weapon, wind weapon, this weapon, that weapon, you cannot kill the soul. And we even discussed the size of the soul, how it's very, very small, 1/10,000, the tip of the hair. So here, Krishna, he already gave that argument. Now he's giving this argument that if, however, you think that the soul or the symptom of life will always be born and die forever, still there is no reason to lament, O mighty arm, right? And he's addressing him Mahabaho or mighty arm, trying to indicate that you are actually a Kshatriya. Now, a Kshatriya belongs to the Vedic culture, and Vedic culture clearly, the understanding is established that we are not this body, the soul. So, in a way, this is almost like a sarcastic comment, right? That okay, you are Mahabaho, you are a Kshatriya, right? You know that you should know that not this body but the soul, right? The same which Krishna, in the beginning indicated Anarya Jushtam, right? When he started speaking, he chastised Arjuna. You're talking like an Anarya, right? One who doesn't know the value of life, one who doesn't understand that he's not the body but the soul. So again here, in an almost sarcastic way, he's saying, if however you think that the soul will always be born and will die forever, you still have no reason to lament, O mighty Arjuna. So Srila Prabhupada here, he describes, there is always a class of philosopher almost akin to the Buddhist. Sorry. Oops. Yeah. Almost akin to the Buddhist, who do not believe in separate existence of soul beyond the body. So even for example, the material scientists, they think that there is life or symptoms of life are due to some chemical reactions in the body. The whole evolution theory, some lightning happened over the ocean. The first, single cellular amoeba was born, etc. So this is just theory at the end of the day, right? And this is also covered in a science called anthropology, right? So people who believe that it's just interaction of some chemicals and physical matter, that there is we are, the body is animated and we are actually conversing, we are having thoughts, we are actually discussing things. So if one observes clearly, one can understand this is not just due to some chemical reactions in the body. Yes, chemical reactions are happening inside the body. There are so many functions that are set in place, but all of this is working because of the presence of the soul, right? If the minute the soul moves out of the body is dead. So just like a tree, while it's in the form of a tree, right? While because the living entity is there in the tree grows, right? Six transformations we discussed even last time. It happens because of the presence of the soul. So it grows, it produces branches, and then there are fruits, etc. Right? The same tree converted, removed from the same wood removed from the tree and now converted into a table. Do you see the table growing in size? No, right? So if it was just some chemical reactions, if it was just some material combination because of which we see the symptoms of life, then the table should also grow because it's of the same wood what is there in the tree. And these kind of philosophers also existed during the time of Krishna, and they were known as Vaibhashikas, right? Those who believe that the symptoms of our life are because of some chemical combination, and there is no eternal existence of soul as such. So when the body dies, everything dies. वो बोलते हैं ना, and it's pretty famous. You'll find so many people, majority of the population adhering to such kind of belief. You have one life, enjoy it. You must have heard this phrase. Right?
Yes.
They are Vaibhashika philosophers. They may not know it, but yeah, they are adhering to such philosophy that we just have this one life. The body dies, I die permanently, and there is no rebirth. So Krishna is giving the argument, and he will further give the argument that even if you think like this, you still have no reason to lament. Although this is not part of Vedic philosophy, and you are, one of the heroes actually, and one of the upholders of, the Vedic philosophy and truth. Even if you still think like this, that there is no eternal soul and it's just this body, still you don't have any reason to lament. Laments at the loss of some bunch of chemicals. Right? So in war, there are so many. Atomic nuclear weapons used and so much loss of chemical in terms of those weapons itself. So if the human body is just a bag of chemicals, then what is the why to lament with just a loss of some chemicals? And again we see again, as per their theory, it would mean that some other combinations will then give birth to some more living entities. So why lament like that? So Krishna is basically checkmating Arjuna from all sides, giving all kinds of arguments. Okay, let's go on. And he should also not worry if there is no rebirth, right? If there is no second life, then why should he worry about sinful reactions, which he was talking about in the first chapter, right? All right, next verse. जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर्
आत्तस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युः
जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर्
जातस्य हि ध्रुवो
ततसीधवो मृत्युदधरु
जन्मामृतस्य च
ध्रुवं
ध्रुवं
जम्नामृतस्य च
ध्रुवं जन्मामृतस्य च
ध्रुवं जन्मामृतस्य च
तस्मादपरिहर्यार्थे
तस्मादपरिहार्थे
तस्मादपरिहर्यार्थे
तस्मादपरिहार्थे रहे रथे
नात्वं शोचितुमर्हसि
नात्वं शोचितुर्मर्हसि
श्रुतिति और रसे
नात्वं शोचितुमर्हसि
नाकं
त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि
शोषि
Anyone?
अर्हसि.
Translation?
Shall I?
Yes, please.
One who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament.
Right. So this is basic fact of life. Every one of us knows, right? One who has taken birth is sure to die. We say as sure as death, right? When we so there are certain things which are 100% sure, right? One of them, one who has taken birth is sure to die, and after death, Krishna is saying, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Okay, just give me 1 second. Sorry. Right. Okay. So Krishna is saying that one who has taken birth according to one's activities, after finishing one's term of activities, one has to take
die.
birth for the next. So as soon as we die, we take another body, and in this way, we are going through the cycle of birth and death without any liberation. Like we discussed, we are continuously in this cycle because we have not done self-realization, right? And however, this verse doesn't support unnecessary murder or slaughter and war. But at the same time, violence and war is inevitable factors in human society for keeping law and order. The battle of Kurukshetra began with the will of Supreme, and was inevitable. And to fight for the right cause is duty of a Kshatriya. Why should he be afraid or aggrieved at the death of his relatives, since he was discharging his proper duty? So Arjuna, he doesn't have any reason to lament, nor that he can save, his relatives, because they are. It's inevitable for them to die. Their time is up, and the body is sure to die. Therefore, it's inevitable for them to die. So he cannot save them any longer, and he should not be aggrieved. In fact, in the proper discharge of duty, he should actually go ahead and fight the war. So he does not deserve to break the law, thereby become subject to the reactions of sinful acts. In fact, if he doesn't perform his duty, he'll be committing sin. If he does his duty, there would be no sin on his part, right? By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he will not be able to stop the death of his relatives, and he will be degraded due to the selection of wrong path. So, if you look at this verse, one who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death, one is sure to take birth again, right? So, do all of us think, right? Does this thought come to you that I am going to die? In our day-to-day lives, as we go about our day-to-day lives, do we really think how many times do we think this, that I'm going to die actually one day?
Only when we see a funeral, we remember that we are going to die.
Yes, only during funeral, and this is called as Shamshan Vairagya, right? When you actually go to Shamshan or see a funeral, that time it's like a news to them, or realization. Oh, okay, this also is part of life, and they naturally feel detached till the time they are in the Shamshan. As soon as they're out of Shamshan, they're again, back to normal. They don't get this thought at all. Anyone? How many of us think about
Doing a Bhagavad Gita class.
I think when you're ill also, right? Suddenly when you're ill, you wonder, oh my God, whether you're just going to, it's time for you to go off. I think it's just very
Only if you're
natural.
seriously ill, then you may think like this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, even in the normal illness, we don't think like this.
You don't think, yeah.
No, but we do sometimes, that everything is not permanent, and suddenly you realize, chodo yaar, by the end of it, nothing will go with us. It comes to your mind sometimes.
Interesting. Good.
Yeah.
That's rare. Rare soul. Okay. So yeah, during Corona also, we all got afraid, right? Death may come. Yes.
But the thought lasts only for a few seconds,
Correct.
And then after after those few seconds, then again you are in that same world, same material thing, same thing starts happening again. But yes, the thought do comes, Yeah.
Anybody else? Do you think that you may die? People think it's actually a taboo to talk about this. They're like, oh, don't talk about death. Like, I know so many of my friends, the minute, even remotely mention death, and they're like, hey, stop talking about this. Inauspicious. So, yeah, anyone else? Just reflect for a minute and think about when was the last time you actually thought, you may die. And as a result, did it change your behavior?
Live every moment with joy.
Live every moment with joy. Okay.
Yes. Then whatever has to happen will happen.
So you should not think about death at all.
No, why?
Okay.
I think also when there is some crisis or natural calamity external, like once I was in another city and it was a terrorist attack out there in Kashmir. So we were jammed out there. For about 2-3 days, we were not asked to move or even travel. So that's the time then you feel, oh my God, what happens? Your family is there, you're going to lose people. That thought very naturally comes when you're faced with such situations.
So
It mostly when you are in a unnatural situations or exceptional situations where community also afraid of death, then that comes. But that is more of a fear of losing life.
correct.
And if sometimes if you are alone, it sometimes comes also in your mind, if at all comes. But that thought doesn't stand long because you are connected with so many souls in your family who are also not thinking about death. And the moment you think something, so there are many jobs comes to you, right? And then you are again getting into the material world. So there is a very less chance normally we get the time to think about death,
Correct.
which is 100% sure.
Right. So
Also,
yeah, go on. Sorry.
if
Go on.
there's a turbulence that goes on for long, then yes.
So one question to Rinku. So imagine, imagine you get to know that you just have 1 month to live.
Yeah.
What will you do? Will you continue living the way you're living right now?
Yes.
Oh, you'll continue. Wow. Okay, so you are basically optimizing your life right now also. That's great. Nice.
I live every moment thinking of God, serving Him with devotion. That's it. I prepared my children also not to cry after my death.
Okay.
Because I'm going to a better place.
Excellent.
I'm very sure of that.
So yes, and that's where all of us. So we should. That's actually the goal, to be in a position like Rinku Mataji is. To actually be sure that okay, I am prepared. Right. All of us. Do you find yourself prepared?
Yes, I am.
You are. For I'm talking about others.
Takes a while, I guess.
Yeah, sorry.
It does take a while.
Does take a while.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, one point I want to raise.
Yes.
When people talk about death, I tell them that I'm not afraid of death, but I'm afraid of the sufferings before death.
Yes.
I only wish that God doesn't permit me to suffer for long and death comes quickly.
Right.
Is that right?
Suffering, correct. Yes. So, Yudhishthir Maharaj was posed with this particular question that you all know the story, how they were traveling in exile, and they all the Pandavas they were thirsty, and they had sent Nakul and Sahadev first to fetch water, and this Yaksha who was guarding the lake, he said, you cannot take water from here. If you drink, you'll die. And they all did not listen, and they drank and they fell dead. And like that, even Arjuna went, Bhima went, and then finally Yudhishthir Maharaj went, searching for his brothers, and what happened. They were gone since a long time. So then this Yaksha again warned, hey, you cannot take water from this lake. Otherwise, like your brothers, you will also die. So you have to first answer my questions. Only then I will allow you to take water from the lake. And Yudhishthira Maharaj also put a condition that if I answer all your questions, you bring everybody back to life. So that was actually Maharaj in disguise of Yaksha there. And, he asked several questions. And one of the questions he asked was, what is the most surprising thing in the universe? Right? What do you find the most surprising? So Yudhishthira Maharaj, he gave an answer. He said, Ahani ahani bhutani gachanti yam alayam sheshaha sthavaram icchanti kim kurum asharyam jagat. Right? The most surprising or wonderful, not wonderful in a good sense, but most surprising thing in the world is that ahani ahani bhutani, day in, day out, right? Gachanti yam alayam. There are so many people who are dying and gachanti yam alayam. They're going to the abode of Yamraj. Sheshaha sthavaram icchanti. Rest of them, they are seeing this. They're observing this, right? That people are dying. We've seen news. There's so many people dead. This happened, tsunami happened, a bomb blast happened. So many people were killed, etc. We hear about this. We see this with our own eyes sometimes, right? Still, Sheshaha sthavaram icchanti. Still, we think, oh, we won't die. This won't happen to us. And we live our lives like that. We live our lives in a way that, oh, I'm not going to die. We don't think about this. This thought is not in the back of our head when we are living day in, day out. Rinku Mataji is really, really rare and elevated soul. I should, and I'm not being sarcastic, genuinely. So if she's already having that realization and if she's spending every moment serving God, then that's fantastic. That's where we all need to be, right?
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, but for all of us, right, including myself, right, we don't think about this. We go living our lives just like as if it's any other normal day, and we are not going to die. We don't think we are ever going to die, right? Otherwise, if we had this at the back of our mind, our behavior, our work, our activities will be very different. Like I posed a question to her, to Rinku Mataji, I'll pose it to you all. If you understood that you just have maybe 7 days to die, what will you do? Will you continue going the same thing that you're doing right now?
I've already answered this
Yes,
question.
I have answered. I'm asking others. Yes, Pallavi, Narayani, Archana, Anulekha Mataji.
Can you please repeat the question?
If you understand that you just have 7 days to live, will your activities be the same as you're living right now?
No. We will soon start preparing for our death.
Yes, you will prepare for death, right?
Yes.
And what will you do exactly? How will you prepare for death?
We will pass on everything, all our accumulations to our children.
We'll banana padega.
Write off, write off everything to them, instruct them.
Okay.
And prepare them to face my death.
Right. That's the reason we also get into insurance, right?
Yes.
So planning is very, very important to plan.
I don't have any insurance. Let them dig the well and earn for themselves.
Yes. Okay.
So, let them do their part. I've done my part for them.
But whatever little you have, what you will be having something, at least your house where you live.
So all of those who are not wanting to give it to their children, you can write the will in the name of ISKCON and we'll use it for Krishna conscious preaching, so that others will also be like Rinku Mataji. Okay. So our activities will be very, very, very different. And in fact, we have this, Krishna actually put one of his devotees in such a situation to set an example for us. Parikshit Maharaj, who was a king of the entire planet, he had an unrivaled kingdom, right? Everything was spick and span, going absolutely perfect in his kingdom. Still, he would go out personally on a horse, roaming around, traversing the planet to see if there is no adharma happening anywhere. And to such a personality, by the arrangement of the Lord, he was cursed to die in 7 days. And he was so powerful, he could have easily counteracted the curse. But he accepted the curse as a will of Lord and started preparing, for leaving in 7 days. And what he did, he went to the bank of Ganges. He approached so many different spiritualists to understand from them, what is to be done for a person who's about to die. And then finally, by arrangement of the Lord, Sukdev Goswami arrived on the scene. And Parikshit Maharaj, for 7 days, 7 nights, without eating, without sleeping, continuously heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukdev Goswami. That's how he set an example for all of us to prepare for death.
I'm already reading Bhagavatam.
Excellent, excellent. So yes, we should all learn from Rinku Mataji's example as well. Like Parikshit Maharaj, right? We should definitely start preparing, right? If not without food and sleep, at least we don't know. We don't have a notice of 7 days. Fortunate are the people who have a notice, right? We don't have a notice. So we should anyways start preparing and, be ready for the final exam, which is death. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, at the time of death, whatever you think, right? Whatever consciousness you have, you will attain that without fail. So at the time of death, your life literally runs in front of your eyes like a, movie reel. And whatever predominantly you have done in your life, it sticks there, stays there. That frame, it stays in front of your eyes. And if you think, if you die thinking of that, you will attain that kind of form in your next life, right? Just like so it's very important for us to prepare. Just like a marathon runner, he cannot ask the child, "Chalo, abhi marathon bhagi," right? No, he has to prepare Olympics clay, and he has to do a lot of rigorous training for so many years, at least 4 to 5 years or 10 years. He has to do a very rigorous training, and then he can run in the Olympics. You cannot expect him, "Chalo, abhi chalo," right? Similarly, your entire lifetime is actually a preparation for the final exam, death, right? So if you don't prepare, if you don't practice chanting the holy names of God, if you don't practice remembering God, at the time of death, you will remember something else. You'll remember your dog. And next life you'll become a dog, right? Or you'll remember your house and you'll become one of the cockroaches or insects in the house. Right? So it is extremely important for us to prepare for death. And one should actually remind oneself that, otherwise we are just sucked into the motions, right? We are sucked into, we give so much importance, kaam karna hai, and, people are, 12 hours, 16 hours of their life absorbed into, serving some bosses. And soon they realize, oh, they are 45, 50 years old. The body is not working anymore. And they've spent all their youth serving some boss, accumulating some money. But now they cannot use that money because the body is not supporting. They want to enjoy the money, but the body is not in shape to enjoy. So the whole effort is just wasted. Right? Not that I'm against collecting money. You earn as much money as you want. But then don't miss out on what is the real purpose of life. All right, we'll move to the next sloka. Any other reflections or thoughts on this?
Prabhuji, I'm under pressure that I've wasted so much time. So the thought came that, oh God, I wasted so much time. So now it is like, oh, you have to rush. Death is coming, you have to rush. So it's like that now.
In fact, I was once thinking to, if you could just, I was actually, because I'm into product design, I was thinking of designing a product like a clock, which basically calculates and gives you a, reverse of, you have, say, for example, an average 60, 70 years to live. So like a countdown clock, so that you always, optimize your time and not waste it in other things, right? Otherwise, we waste 25% of our life, or rather, some people even 40 to 50% of their life sleeping, It's such a waste. Not that we don't have to, body requires sleep. So we can actually just sleep for 6 hours as this, directed in the scriptures, and then spend wakeful time actually living life versus, just spending it sleeping. Some people just love sleeping, right? So almost 30 to 40% of their life is just gone and sleeping. Another, 10, 12 years, if you, put it together, is just gone in eating, right? So likewise, if you look at your entire span, you hardly have time for, something valuable. So yeah, that was just one idea. Anyways, Nataraj Prabhu, any thoughts from your end? So Nataraj Prabhu is, a very, very good friend. He decided to join this class today. He's already extremely knowledgeable and practically applying Krishna consciousness in his day-to-day life. He's actually renounced, in one sense, a lot of material things, and he is living in a farm community. So extremely realized person in terms of, practically applying Bhagavad Gita. So Prabhu, any comments from your end? Nataraj Prabhu, are you there? Okay, I'm not sure if he's able to hear us also. Okay.
One thing I want to point out
Yes.
of this proverb that duty is worship.
Hmm.
What do you have to say about that?
So,
People
yes.
perform their duties, forgetting that death is going to take them. But they believe that duty is worship.
Right. So work is worship is a philosophy
Yeah,
of asses
work is
and
worship.
donkeys.
Exactly.
Right. And I'm not saying this, scriptures say this. So work is not worship, because otherwise people will say, "Arey ha, main to bahut mehnat kar raha hu, I'm actually doing worship." No. Actually, worship is the real work. If you try to satisfy Krishna, it's like watering the roots, right? Everybody will be satisfied. So if you actually try to satisfy Krishna, and if you see actually the life of a Krishna conscious person, he's pleasing to everyone and he's helping everyone, right? So actually, if he's worshipping, that's the real work he's doing. Otherwise, we are, like I said, we've done all kinds of work in millions and trillions of lifetimes we've had, right? And we're still in this cycle. What is the use? It's just like being in jail. Right? जेल में पत्थर तोड़ना पड़ता है, right? कैदियों को पत्थर तोड़ना पड़ता है. So till the time you're in jail, you have to break stones. Not that we're saying you don't work. You have to break stones while you're in jail. But if you're being shown the path to get out of the jail, don't say at that, अरे इतना पत्थर तोड़ना है, कौन करेगा? Right? ये पत्थर तोड़ना मेरा duty है, right? I don't care about getting out. Right? That's foolishness. I hope that answers your question.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. Avyaktadini bhutani.
Avyaktadini bhutani.
Avyaktadini bhutani.
Tani.
Vyakta madhyani bharata.
Vyakta madhyani bharata.
Vyakta madhyani bharata.
Vyakta madhyani bharata.
Avyakta nidhanani eva.
Avyakta nidhanani eva.
Avyakta nidhanani eva.
Avyakta nidhyani eva.
Tatra ka paridevana.
Tatra ka paridevana.
Tatra ka paridevana.
Tatra ka paridevana.
Yes. Translation, anyone would like to read?
I'll read, Prabhuji.
Yes, please.
Translation. All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation?
Yes. So
Purport also, Prabhuji, or you're reading?
Nice. So this is Nataraj Prabhu. Nataraj Prabhu, if you don't mind, can you come on camera? Everyone should see. Yes.
So right now, I am into some service, but still I'm trying to cope up.
Yes. So that's Nataraj Prabhu is sitting out of the Talashri farm, which is the Vedic farm part of ISKCON Juhu. I was just talking about Nataraj Prabhu, so here he is. Thank you so much, Prabhu, for blessing us.
Thank you.
In part.
Hare,
Hare Krishna.
I am getting
Hare
blessed. Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Okay. So all.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah. So if anyone who wants to, take a break and go to experience, what is a farm life, can connect with Nataraj Prabhu, or we will once actually take everyone to Talashri and be our guide there.
Where is that?
So this is just in the outskirts of Mumbai. This is called
It
Nilachal.
is 120 kilometers from ISKCON Juhu, just 30 kilometers ahead of Dahanu, and 2 kilometers inside the, there's a way from highway.
Right.
You
So
should come.
you should all go once.
Yes, we must take us.
Yeah. We will plan. Nataraj Prabhu can talk out a plan for us.
I am always here, Prabhuji, as a host. Krishna has given me the service of host. Acha, let me take some time and glorify Vijay Madhav Prabhu also, if you have some time, Prabhuji.
We continue with the class.
At the end, please give me some time, Prabhuji, please.
It's okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So all created beings are unmanifest in the beginning, manifest in the interim, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what is the need for lamentation? So again, Krishna is basically describing how we, in our experience, also see that somebody is born at a certain time, and he stays for some 60, 70 years or some few years, and then again the body is annihilated. So basically, Krishna is saying that if everything comes from the five elements, which is earth, water, fire, air, ether, and later on also merges into the same elements, the body, right? Again, he's giving this argument not from a platform of the Vedic version or the spiritual knowledge, but he's still talking on the material platform, where he's saying that if the body is coming at, being visible at a certain time, and then again at death dissolves into all these elements. So what is the use of lamenting? Because this is anyways happening. So what is the problem? And again, after some time, it'll be manifest in some other form. So Prabhupada is giving example, just like a big skyscraper is manifested from earth, and later it's kind of dismantled, and a new building then comes up. So we don't lament at the loss of some old building. In fact, there are demolitions of the old buildings to make space for the new ones to come up. And he says the law of conservation of energy remains. So what is the law of conservation of energy? Which means that the as much energy is there, that remains. It just transforms from one form to the other. So the number of souls are the same in the universe. It's just transforming from one body to the other, like that. Okay, let's move on to the next one quickly. This is a very interesting verse. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschidenam. Please repeat. Ascharyavat.
Ascharyavat. Sorry.
Go on.
Yeah, Prabhuji, please.
Ascharyavat.
Ascharyavat.
Kaschidenam.
Kashyati.
Ascharyavat.
Kaschidenam.
यवद्वत्ति तथैव चान्यः आश्चर्यवैचेमनयः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येन स्वेदन चैव कश्चित्.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Wow.
Okay. Anyone who would like to read the translation?
Yes, I'll take.
Yes.
Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all.
Right. So this is the amazing verse where the soul is, some people look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all, right? So Prabhupada is giving description that how the fact that the atomic soul is within the body of a gigantic animal, in the body of a gigantic banyan tree, and also in the microbic germs, millions and billions of which occupy only an inch of a space, is certainly very amazing. So imagine the same soul is running the body of a microorganism, running your body, running the body of a dinosaur also, or a gigantic whale as well, right? It's the same soul. So it's actually amazing. The potency of the soul is really amazing. You cannot fathom the kind of potential or potency the soul has, right? Men with a poor fund of knowledge and men who are not austere cannot understand the wonders of individual atomic spark of spirit, even though it is explained by the greatest authorities of knowledge who imparted lessons even to Brahma, the first living being in the universe. So men who are with poor fund of knowledge, they cannot understand, or who are not austere cannot understand the wonders of individual atomic spark. They cannot even understand that we are actually spirit souls. And even though it is explained by Krishna, for example, in Bhagavad Gita, who even imparted the same knowledge to Brahma, who is the first living being of the universe. So, we can understand this, that Krishna is speaking Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where even others are listening actually, but not everyone is understanding. Like, Sevadulya Prabhu described, only a few people understood, when Krishna was talking. It was Arjuna, Sanjaya, Bhishma, Drona, right? And Dhritarashtra also, by the mercy, he understood Bhagavad Gita as such, right? But others, they could not understand, even though they were hearing. So, owing to a gross material conception of things, most men in the age cannot imagine how such a small particle can become both so great and so small. So men look at the soul proper as wonderful either by constitution or by description. So people are baffled how the material body is working. The doctors, like I earlier described, they know that everything, heart is the center of everything, and pumping of the heart, everything is working, but they don't know how the heart is pumping, right? And we hear of things like antimatter, etc. The scientists are discovering. Somebody won a Nobel Prize in 2009 for this, or maybe earlier, 2009 or something else, maybe a little earlier than that. This discovery of antimatter, right? Something beyond matter. So they won a Nobel Prize for that, but they won't turn to Bhagavad Gita and simply read that we are not this body, the soul, and it's actually the soul which they're calling as antimatter, right? So, and here Srila Prabhupada, he describes how, there are very fortunate people who, try to understand what the soul is, but some people who are inclined to hear about the soul may be attending lectures in good association, but sometimes, owing to ignorance, they are misguided by acceptance of super soul and atomic soul as one, without distinction of magnitude. So, still there are some people, especially in India, right, who understand, okay, we are not this body, the soul. But a lot of them are also misguided, thinking that the soul and super soul are the same, or there is no difference. This is what we discussed the other day as Mayavad philosophy, right? They think that, oh, I am the super soul, or I am one with the super soul, right? So that's the misfortune actually, right? It is very
Yes, Prabhuji,
yes.
Sorry, I would like to interrupt here,
Yes.
since you touched the same point that we discussed last time. Yeah, I went back and somehow I came across an article by ISKCON itself, where they mentioned it was on Mayavad only, and there was this term impersonalist also.
Correct.
So as I remember last time we discussed that, there are people who identify themselves with Brahma Jyotir, and what I understood was that they are not categorized.
So like I described last time, there are Brahmavadis. There are two kinds of impersonalists. One is a Brahmavadi, who understand the Supreme Lord as impersonal. Impersonal means they think God doesn't have a form. He's just an energy or a light. So that's Brahman realization. No, Brahman, not realization, but knowledge of Brahman rather. They become Brahman realized when they actually, attain some perfection. So that's knowledge of Brahman or understanding of Brahman. They understand the Supreme to be impersonal. There is other category of impersonalists who think that God doesn't have a form and that they, the atomic soul, is equal to the super soul,
Right.
which is being described here as well. So they think I am also God, somebody else is also God, we're all Narayan. And they greet each other Narayan like that, like I described last time, right? So those are Mayavadis. Why Mayavadis? Because if they think that they are God and right now they are under the influence of Maya, which indirectly means that Maya is superior to the Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, the theory which propagates that Maya is even higher than the Lord is known as Mayavad, where they think that, oh, I am God or the soul and super soul are equal, right? I
Yeah,
hope.
so there's this philosophy of Adi Shankaracharya. I think they speak about Krishna. They also speak about Bhagavatam, and they are considered as Mayavads, as Srila Prabhupada said them. But they also believe in the fact that there is Brahman realization and there is Paramatma realization, and then there is Bhagavan Shri Krishna.
Yeah. So we need to understand the entire history. I think I spoke about this in one of the classes. You were not there, but I'll quickly summarize it for you. So Adi Shankaracharya is actually Lord Shiva himself, incarnated as Adi Shankaracharya. There's an entire sequence where there was a lot. So after Dwapar Yuga, when Kali Yuga started, right, there was a lot. And the first thing that got polluted was Brahmanas. Right, the Brahmanas got polluted with Shringi cursing Parikshit Maharaj. The fall down of the Brahmana class started. Right, so what happened then was people in the Brahmana community, they started misusing Vedas for sense gratification, and there were asuras actually being born in Brahmana kulas, and they were misusing Vedas. In the name of the Vedas, they were doing a lot of animal killing. So because of that animal killing, it was so much prevalent. Sorry, I live close to the airport. Sorry. So, because of the animal killing, there was so much disturbance, and the basic essence of the Vedas were lost. So, Lord Buddha had to come, Krishna or Lord Vishnu incarnated as Lord Buddha, to stop this animal killing in the name of the Vedas, and therefore he came and denied the Vedas. Vedo ka khandan kar diya. The Vedas are all mythology and this and that, and nirvana or ahimsa paro dharmo, such kind of philosophy he started propagating. So of course that's Lord himself if he propagates something, right? And every incarnation of the Lord has a very specific purpose. So his purpose was to stop the animal killing in the name of the Vedas and also to bewilder the atheist, right? So he gave the philosophy that you can become God or you can attain nirvana and there's nothing after death. All that kind of philosophy, you'll find it in Buddhism. Then came, but after this, animal killing stopped, but the real thing again had to be established. The Vedas again had to be established because Veda is nothing but the Vani of the Lord, the words of the Lord. So it had to be re-established. So Adi Shankaracharya was sent. Lord Shiva in the form of Adi Shankaracharya was sent. And Adi Shankaracharya, he traveled throughout India and preached very, very vehemently, very boldly about how Vedas are true. And it was just a slight progression from the atheistic philosophy of Buddhism. Buddhism is atheistic philosophy. There is no God, right? You are, the ultimate and you can do whatever. So it was just another next step to that. The Vedic Adi Shankaracharya established through Vedas. Look, what Buddhist was saying. You can actually, you can attain nirvana, etc. You can actually become God. So he established a Mayavad theory that you can actually become God, right? And through Vedas, through quoting Vedas, which is actually describing the Supreme Personality of God, quoting the same Vedas, he tried to establish how you can actually become God. And why did he do this? Because he was ordered by the Lord to re-establish the Vedas and to bewilder the atheist even further. So that was a specific task given to Lord Shiva. He is given very, very difficult tasks all the time. Right? So this was a difficult task given to him. And when Adi Shankaracharya, and again, he being Lord Shiva, who is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, he's the greatest devotee of the Lord Krishna, one of the greatest devotees of Lord Krishna. He could not, control himself, and he gave towards Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Bhaja Govinda, Mudamate, right? Worship Govinda. So ultimately, he gave all that philosophy, but towards the end, he concluded this. In fact, there is a story that Adi Shankaracharya, when his mother was was about to pass, she called for Adi Shankaracharya. Adi Shankaracharya came with his disciples, and his mother whispered in his ears, or rather told him, please tell me, about the person whom you worship. So
Yeah, I've heard that.
Adi Shankaracharya then he described how he first gave the Mayavad philosophy also, how we are the souls, etc., and the soul, we are Parabrahman, we'll mix into the Parabrahman and we'll become one with the Supreme and we'll be the Supreme, etc., etc. So mother says, no, tell me whom you worship, right? So he had to actually send his disciples outside. Go out, it's not for you, go out. And then he actually spoke Krishna Katha to his mother, right? And he could actually reveal the real thing to his mother, not in front of his disciples, because he was given the job to bewilder the atheistic people who became his disciples.
Yes.
And even the Mayavad philosophy, it's so dry, it's so dull and dry. People are not able to sustain. It's very, very difficult for someone to practice. It's so painful, actually. Right? There's no rasa. So, in order to taste some rasa, what Mayavadi philosophers have fallen back to is they still pick up Bhagavatam, they'll pick up some other scriptures, they'll talk about Krishna Leela also, right? Because just studying Vedanta is very, very dry.
Yeah.
So they will fall back to these things, but without having the real goal of studying Bhagavatam. They'll still think, oh, I am doing this as a means to become one with God, to be God myself, like that. So the ultimate goal is not proper, right? They may do these things. You may open the television, you will find hundreds of speakers on Bhagavatam. But what is the intention? Some speak Bhagavatam for money. They'll charge, 20 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees. You'll have thousands of people sitting in a pandal, right? If the guy has money in his heart and not Krishna, right? He's speaking Bhagavatam for money. How you can expect to get Krishna from him? You'll just get the same consciousness of, thinking about money, right? When you're listening to someone, it's not just you're hearing something. It's actually an exchange of consciousness. And therefore, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu described Mayavadi Bhashya Sunite Hoile Sarvanash. If you hear Mayavad philosophy from a Mayavadi, Sarvanash, right? You'll be very, very careful not to hear Mayavad philosophy, because you will also start thinking that, oh, I can become God. I can become one with God, etc. You have to become one with God in desire. Lord's desire should be my desire. I should be serving the Lord. Whatever He wants, I should be able. So oneness in desire, not that I become merged into the God and become one with God, like that.
Yeah.
I hope you have your answer.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. So, yeah, we were reading, and it's still more difficult to find a man who has actually derived the full benefit from knowledge of soul, right? So it's very rare for someone to actually think about the soul or trying to find out about the soul and the relationship with the Supreme Soul. And it's still more difficult to, find a man who's actually derived that benefit from the knowledge. So like we are discussing here, or last time we discussed, how do we apply this knowledge? Because application is the key. So if you start applying, this knowledge in your day-to-day life, you'll be a soul as per Bhagavad Gita, very, very rare, right? And who's able to describe the position of the soul in different aspects. But if somehow or other one is able to understand the subject matter of the soul, then one's life is successful, right? Because if you understand that I'm not the body and I'm spirit soul, my whole life can change. just give you a quick example of Bhagavad Gita, Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. So he's one of the leaders of ISKCON. And in the early days, when the movement had just started, to maintain the temple, there were a lot of funds required. So devotees would also, even the full-time devotees who were living in the temple, they would also go out and do some work to fund the temple. So His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj had gotten a job in a cafe to serve people as a waiter. So there was this man who would come to that cafe almost every morning, right? And Jayapataka Maharaj would actually serve him coffee every morning. And one day he asked him, how is it that you're so happy? I am a millionaire. I have my, beautiful car parked outside. I come here every single morning. I have such a big business empire. I practically live in a palace. And I'm coming here every day. I'm noticing that I'm not so happy, but I look at your face and you're so happy. How is it? I have everything materially possible, and you're just serving here as a waiter, but you still look so bright and so happy. How is it? So then, of course, Maharaj started preaching to him, right? And told him that you're not this body, you're the soul, and gave him the Krishna conscious philosophy. Similarly, there was one more incident happened. So His Holiness Badri Narayan Maharaj, again another leader of ISKCON currently. So one of the sannyasis, he had taken one brahmachari in Detroit, to the one of the departments, government departments, where they would get free insurance. So there you had to declare everything, all your assets. So everything down to your holdings in terms of gold, in terms of other insurances, in terms of property, etc. And the lady sitting on the other end of the glass, she would be just receiving forms, looking, signing, not even looking up who is there, whose form she's looking at, right? So she was busy like that, and people were standing in a line. So then this brahmachari, his form was passed to her, and he stood in that line. And then she looked at the form, and she saw no income, no holdings, no gold, no property, nothing, absolutely zero. It was a penniless brahmachari. And then she looked at him. It was a very nice, bright, smiling face of the brahmachari. I was like, how is this possible? Right? How are you so happy? Right? You have nothing. So she was completely zapped. Like, how is it possible? But Badrinath Maharaj was actually explaining this in one of the lectures. So yeah, the real happiness, and someone who understands that we are not this body, the soul understands that the real happiness doesn't come from these external things. Right? Real happiness actually comes from within when we connect to Krishna. Okay, it's around 12:30 already. Let me see if we can do one last verse quickly. So at least the soul section will be completed and we can move on to the next one next time. Dehi nityam avadhyoyam.
Dehi nityam avadhyoyam.
Dehe sarvasya bharata.
Dehi sarvasya bharata.
Tasmat sarvani bhutani.
Tasmat sarvani bhutani.
Natvam sochitum arhasi.
Natvam sochitum arhasi.
Yes,
Prabhuji, Krishna Kirtan wants to recite this sloka just once.
Oh yes, please, please.
Good.
देहि नित्यम अवध्योयम देहे सर्वस्य भारत तस्मात् सर्वाणि भूतानि सानिशा पश्यतो मुने.
Natvam sochitum arhasi. So out of memory, huh? Look at him.
Wow.
Maybe he just forgot it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still struggling to remember that.
Okay.
So this is what happens when you train your children right from the beginning, right? They can quickly catch up, and this is simple living and high thinking, living naturally, living in a simple environment, and studying about Krishna, right? So, like I was saying, this real satisfaction comes from within. Yes, quickly, if someone can read the translation.
I'll read it. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being.
Yes. So, Krishna is again stressing that he who dwells within the body can never be slain. Therefore, you should not grieve for any living being. It's pretty straightforward. You want to go ahead and read the purport?
Yeah, sure. I'll read it. The Lord now concludes the chapter of instructions of the immutable spirit soul. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna establishes that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna as a Kshatriya should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher, Bhishma and Drona, will die in the battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one is to believe that there is a soul different from the material body, not that there is such thing as a soul, or that a living symptoms develop at a certain age of material maturity resulting from the interaction of chemicals. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged, but at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. That need not be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously.
Right. So, violence also has its own utility when there is actual need, and especially when it's under the sanction of the Supreme Lord and not just whimsically. Right. So, quickly summarizing, what we discussed today. We are eternal souls. We are part and parcels of Krishna. We have very limited time in with this particular body. We need to utilize it to our fullest of advantage. Not think that we will never die, and we need to prepare for it. So invest in yourself right now. Don't just continue doing or living, casually like we've been living all throughout. But invest in yourself right now. Otherwise, we'll be, frustrated in the end. Our relationships will be very shallow. We won't be really happy unless and until we connect to Krishna and find real happiness. And if you're not happy, you won't be able to make anyone else happy. Simple, right? If you're joyful, people around you will also be joyful. And the simple way of doing that is you chant Hare Krishna, become Krishna conscious, and spread this message also to others so that they can also take the full advantage of this human form of life and become happy. So thank you very much. I will stop here. If there are any questions, comments, or reflections, the floor is open. We'll discuss that for next 5 minutes, and then we'll end with a small kirtan. So, any thoughts, any reflections? Reflection is something which you heard, which made sense to you, or what you're taking back from the class. Yes, anyone?
Just be happy. Don't worry about anything. Nothing is going to be carried forward with you. That's it.
Yes. If you are Krishna conscious, you can just be happy and not worry about things, right? And if you're serving the Lord at every moment, you don't have to worry about anything. You're prepared. If you're not completely Krishna conscious, not serving full time or not thinking about Krishna full time, then let's make an attempt to get to that stage. Anyone?
Death is inevitable.
Yes, death is inevitable. As sure as death.
As sure as death.
Anything else?
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
It's rightly said, Srila Prabhupada books are like bombs. They just, wherever they go in the house, they just have to explode and the love spreads. So now I can actually feel that. And with this topic, it feels like, yes, there's an emergency.
Yeah. Great. Any other thoughts or comments or questions? Subramanian.
Yeah, can I add one more thing? Adi Shankaracharya,
Yes.
during his this thing, that period Jainism was also,
Correct.
wasn't very fast. And so he wanted to establish Sanatana Dharma, which is the main, as you said, the Veda, to establish that. And the Buddhism and Jainism, if Adi Shankaracharya had not been there, the Hinduism would have actually got disappeared, But that was Avatari, as you said, he came and established the Hindu Sanatana Dharma.
Yes.
Again.
And as a next step to what Adi Shankaracharya did, there was a whole chain of acharyas coming after him.
Correct.
Dvaita philosophy, there was tussle between that. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finally came and established, Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, which means that we are simultaneously one with God and different as well. Which means that we are one in quality. Krishna is also Sat Chit Anand. We are also Sat Chit Anand. But there is different in quantity or magnitude. We are Anu. We are very tiny speck. Krishna is the original Satchidanand. He is the supreme. He is Vibhu. He is unlimited. And we are Anu. We are very, very tiny. So just like, a drop and the ocean, right? The quality is the same, but the difference in quantity and thereby the capacity. You can sail a ship in an ocean, not in a drop, right? So that's the difference. All right, so we'll stop here. Yes.
Okay.
Go on.
Yes. I have this question, and I would like you all to help me out. There's always a very direct saying that Srila Prabhupada has criticized many people, especially Mayavads, and most of them, even they were serving Lord when they established something. For example, Sri Adi Shankaracharya is only, or anyone who did spread the work of Mayavad, but it was because of the will of Lord. So there's a direct criticism which we see from Srila Prabhupada. How to really deal with it?
Right. So Srila Prabhupada is not criticizing Adi Shankaracharya, but he's criticizing the Mayavad philosophy.
The Mayavad.
Which is an atheistic philosophy. It's a covered atheism. So Buddhism was direct atheism. Mayavad is covered atheism. And like I said, his role was to re-establish the Vedas and also to bewilder this atheistic class of men from devotional service. So
right.
That was a special job, and Prabhupada was completely aware of the position of Adi Shankaracharya, who is Lord Shiva himself. So he never criticized Adi Shankaracharya. In fact, he quoted him, and there is Gita Mahatmya also, which he quotes, where Prabhupada quotes Adi Shankaracharya so many times. So he's an authority, he's an acharya, but the philosophy which he gave, specifically of Mayavad philosophy, even Adi Shankaracharya towards the end rejected that philosophy. So why should we bother about Prabhupada criticizing that philosophy?
Right.
Does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
All right. So we'll do short kirtan and then we'll end the class. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashat Deshitarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare
Rama Hare
Rama Hare Hare Everyone Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Krishna Krishna
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama Hare
Rama Hare
Rama Rama
Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama
Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. Thank you everyone.
Hare Krishna.